Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to today's video. Remember a few weeks ago when we made this awesome honeycomb organization system? Thank you for all the views, the comments, the likes, and everything around that. I had a great time printing it, and it sounds like you guys did too. Well, today we want to take it to the next level. What if you wanted to make something custom for like some screwdrivers or different things that you have, your accessories for your bamboo lab, and you want to attach it to this wall? I don't know if you've looked at the plans. Boy, there's a lot of crazy measurements in there and you can get lost real quick in there. But I think I found an easy way for us to customize all of our prints. So that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to learn how to customize different objects that we can make and add it to the honeycomb wall. So sit back and relax, and let me get everything set up.
Len Dizzle Production.
Alright, so let's go over some things that I'd recommend for today's project. First and foremost, we're going to need some measurement tools and then probably some things to measure here. So let's go over some of the things that I find helpful. I believe this is called a sewing mat or something like that. But what's good about this is it has the millimeters up and down and across and through squares and everything. So this is cool to, set things on and you can see how wide it is and how long it is right away. So I use this thing all the time. I do a lot of my drone stuff on here as well, just because it's a nice, really tough type of deal. So I'd really recommend this. It's really good to put different objects on. Like I said, you can measure them very, very quickly. So that's one measurement tool that I would recommend. I do, for 3D printing, I do everything in millimeters. If you do stuff in inches and stuff like that, that's up to you to do all the fractional math with that, but I use millimeters just simply because it's way easier to do for this type of thing. So I also have a good steel rule. I actually have a set of these steel rules, but I really only use this one. And again, this one's good to measure stuff. It's good to take around and to go and measure different things like that. The last thing that I would recommend that you have is a good caliper, a good digital caliper. And what these are good for, and I have links in the description to all of this stuff, but what these are good for is whenever you need to make a hole, really good to measure, the shaft or whatever it happens to be. Or if you need to measure the inside of a hole that's already there, these are really good at doing that as well. So with that, these are the tools that I would recommend for today's project. So let's get started. All right, so let's go over a couple of the things that we'll be making today. So I think we'll make a couple of screwdriver stands and some of the hex driver stands. And I'll show you all of the different ways to do that, all the way from making the holes, making these blocks, how to add the cool logos to different things. But probably more importantly is how do you actually attach this to the honeycomb wall easily. So there's really, if you guys have printed this out already, you know that there are these inner hexes and these outer hex things, or you can even see on the connections, they have these open hexes here. And you can either slide things in and then snap that into the honeycomb, or you could even print these right directly onto the back of the object that you're trying to make and then just put that on there. And at first, boy, I was super excited to do that because that just seemed like less printing, the easy way to do it and everything like that. But I can tell you, if you print it like this, you'll be fine. It'll print just fine. Otherwise, as soon as you put it on its side and it has to print all of these gaps and everything, you can even see, I don't know how well, this one's not totally perfect on that. So it's a lot harder to print these pieces, and you really have to have it in a certain orientation in order to do so. The other thing that's a huge issue with doing it this way is, say you have one of these corner pieces that's connecting your honeycomb and you want to put this right where one of those go. You can't really do that. So I don't recommend, again, you can do what you want and put these things on there as you want, but I don't recommend printing these for those two reasons. Hard to print, and then it's kind of hard to place the thing afterwards because you can only put it in certain places. So everything that we'll be doing today will be based really on this shelf and the shelf that has 3 of these things on there. And mainly this hexagon that's right there. So you'll see on the back of these, that's how I am connecting these. And then I can just throw something on there and snap it on the wall. Or if I run into a place where I need to put it on one of the connectors that's in between, then I can easily do that. But what else is crucial is getting the spacing between all of these correct, right? So the spacing here needs to be the same as the spacing that's in there. So I can tell you that these shelves that are already pre-made are super helpful at doing that. And if we can just cut off these little hexes on these shelves and attach it to our pieces, then boy, that would be a real easy way to do that, and I never have to measure anything or do anything at all. So as you can see, that is the route that I have gone, is to use just these inner hexes, and then I use the shelf in Tinkercad, and I just slice off those hexes since they're in the right measurement that I need there. I just slice off the shelf, add it to my piece, and we're good to go. So let me get Tinkercad set up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so head over to tinkercad.com, sign in with your Google account or set up an account or whatever. This is by Autodesk. You can use other software if you want, Fusion 360, any of the different CAD, different designs. The only reason that I'm using this one is it's free. You don't have to download anything, and it works pretty good. But like I said, the concept of what I'm doing here can be translated to these other types of programs. There might be some differences in that, but the overall concept's the same. So what we'll do is hit New, 3D Design. And really what we'll be messing with today is these top 3 objects right here. Not that we can't use the rest of these, but for today's purposes, we'll be using these. Hopefully this will jumpstart you into, kind of playing around and tinkering in here, right? Tinkercad, the name of it. So we'll start off with the box. So let's make a holder for 4, screwdrivers across right here. We'll say we're making a screwdriver holder. That's a pretty common thing that you'll need in your makerspace, right? So let's go over here and change the width to 140. We'll leave the length and the height at 20 millimeters. Again, you can change this to fit whatever sizes that you need. So what we'll need is some holes in this block across here to hold our screwdrivers, right? So what's neat about Tinkercad is it has these hole shapes here, which is kind of like the negative part stuff that you see in the Bamboo Lab studio. But what you can do here is you can have this shape, and what it'll do, it will make a hole wherever this shape is whenever you combine the shapes together, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's say that we've measured our screwdriver that we want to put in this first hole here. All of our screwdrivers are 8 millimeters around. So we'll use our shift whenever we click on here, and we'll hit 8 millimeters, and it'll scale everything down to 8 millimeters, 8 millimeters, and then the scale of whatever this one was. So what we'll want to do here is make sure that this is definitely longer than the object, and we want it to go all the way through. So we'll see that right now it's sitting right at the surface, which this will work. I always like to hit this little arrow to move it down a millimeter or 2, and that arrow there is how you move things up and down. So same with this, if I wanted to move it up and down, I could do that as well. So now that we have the size of our hole, we need to place it in here. And there's a couple of tricks that we can use to do this. If you set it right on the edge, you'll see that the snap grid is 1 millimeter. So every time I hit the right arrow here, it's going 1 millimeter. Okay, so I can take this to the edge. I can put the center on the edge right there. But let's say I wanted this 10 centimeter or 10 millimeters in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. You can use a ruler to do all of this, but I'm going to try to make this really, really easy. The other thing that we want to do is center this. So again, we could do 20 millimeters, 8 millimeters, do all of that math. Who wants to do that? Just highlight both of these. Click this little thing right here that says align. You'll see these dots come up. Click on the object that you want to center on, which happens to be this one. And you'll see that there's a little center thing there. And see how it's trying to move the object? It shows that little orange thing there. So that's what we want. That will center the object there. Okay, so just click off of that somewhere and we'll be good to go. Now we need to make holes all the way across here for the rest of our screwdrivers. There's an easy way to do that as well. Click on this little hole that we created again and go over here to this duplicate, and you can hit Control D, but we'll hit duplicate. Now there's another one of these holes sitting right on top of this hole. And again, our snap grid is at 1 millimeter. We can change it to whatever we want. We'll leave it at 1. But let's say we want this 20 millimeters to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right, so now it's 20 millimeters apart. Since I only hit the right arrow, it's still centered because it's still in the same plane that it was before. But here's the really cool part. If I go and hit this duplicate again, it actually put it 20 millimeters to the right, 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 20 millimeters to the right. So as you can see, that would be very, very handy. But now you can see that my edge over here isn't the same as my edge over here. So how can we fix that? Well, let's just hold Shift and highlight all of these. This is how you combine it into a group. We'll make this a group. Okay, so now when we select it, it's the whole group. We'll hold Shift and select our box, and we'll go back to our alignment tool. Now you'll see that I can center everything there. So now everything's evenly spaced across, and now I centered it back on this object. Holes are still going through. Now to make the holes final, you'll want to highlight everything and hit this grouping button again. When you group a solid and one of those hole objects, like it says there, that's when it makes the hole. And as you can see, the hole went all the way through. So that's really cool. We can click everything in there, get that going, and do that. So as you can see on the other page, I built a ton of these. You can put text on there if you want to, and put what the size of it is or whatever that happens to be. That's how I did the 2.5 millimeter, 3 millimeter, and all of that stuff on there. So that's really cool. So now let's go over how we would, put the little hexes on the back of this thing so that we could attach it to our honeycomb wall. So let me show you the easy way to do that. So what I do is I go over here to Printables, and I've actually saved the honeycomb in my collection here, so you guys can see some of the things that I'm looking at. So we'll go over to this wall, and what I'm looking for is this shelf. The shelves here are really the key to making this happen, and really I would recommend this one with 3 deals on there. Most of the stuff I use only uses the 2, but I bring this into Tinkercad, so I have that. So what you're going to want to do is just download that, leave that in your download folder right there, and go back over to Tinkercad. You're going to hit import. You're going to choose that file that you just downloaded from your download section there and hit import. Okay, and that's going to give us this shelf. And what's cool is we have 3 of these hexagons that are in the perfect distance apart for us to use. The only thing is we got this stupid shelf in the way. So the easy way to do that is to just take one of these boxes. That's the whole, so you'll see that it's whole. I can switch between them too, so I can always make things a whole. And what I'm going to do is just highlight all of this shelf here. Move it around. We're good to go there. So now, if I just highlight these two and group it, you'll see that we left a little bit. We'll hit Control Z. We'll click on this again. It looks like it needs to be 60. And then we'll group it again. And you'll see that the shelf is gone and you're left with all of the hexagons. And they're in a nice little group that you can move around, so the spacing between them is always where it needs to be. But as you can see here, our object is not big enough for all three. So let's take a box, combine everything again, and we'll see that we'll have two, and it's again in a group. So taking lessons that we just learned about centering things, now I can hold Shift, select that object, select the alignment, align this right to it, then just use your arrow to kind of smash it in there a little bit. And then what I like to do is make this about 8 millimeters. And now you'll see that we have these centered. They're on the bottom. This will be easy to print. Then you just snap one of those hollow inserts in there and you snap this directly into your wall. So that's how I did everything there. That's the easy way to get the holes. That's the easy way to build the block right here. That's the easy way to get these hexagons on here. So the last thing that I'll show you is how you can put text and how you can put a cool logo on there. So for text, all you need to do is just drag and drop this text in here. And you can always just spin stuff around. If you keep your arrow within this, it'll snap to these different things. If you hold your arrow out, it will, see how I'm outside of the circle? It'll let you do very fine-tune adjustments. If I stay within this, it just snaps to the different things. So that's super handy to snap right away. So let's say I wanted to make this 3 millimeter. Right, let's say I have a 3 millimeter hex and I want to use this as the little, marker that goes on there. So again, hold Shift. That way we get it to scale down. And then what we'll want to do is we know this is 20 millimeters high, so we'll raise this up to just under 20 millimeters to like 18 because this thing is thick, and we'll want to just set it on top of there. And then now I can just use the left arrow to bring it right on there, and we'll see it's not quite poking up. So we'll just go up 1 more millimeter to 19. And as you can see, need to make it a little bit smaller, so we'll hold Shift again, bring it down. And what's cool here is you can ungroup everything here to bring these cylinders back in. So now I can take this and my little 3 millimeter, go to Align, click on the cylinder, and align it to the cylinder. Then I can group everything back. We'll see that the hole is back and I have that little 3 millimeter just sticking up. So that's how you can label everything across there very, very easily. So the last thing is, how did I get the cool Lindizzle logo on there, and how did I get the cool Tecton logo on there? So the logo for the Lindizzle I had made, so I have a PNG copy of that, and that's what you need is a PNG. And for the Tecton one, I just did a search for Tecton PNG, and under images here I just found one of these Tecton images and saved it. So there's a PNG, so we'll save image as, We'll save it to our downloads and call it a Tecton. Then you just find a PNG to SVG converter. And that's what we'll need is to turn this PNG into SVG. The reason that we do PNG is that is just the letters and it doesn't have any background or anything. So if we just want the letters to paste on something, it's important to just have the letters and not the background. So you can do a PNG to SVG, select one of these and convert it to an SVG. I'm going to do that real quick with one of these, and I will meet you back when I have that finished. All right, so once you have it converted to an SVG, we'll go ahead and hit import, choose file. It'll either show a Chrome or an Edge. I haven't changed these files to be that. And sometimes you'll be greeted with this warning right here that says it's over the limit of 1,000 millimeters. And that's because it's using every pixel across as a millimeter, I believe. So what I generally do on this is hit like 50% scale. And then that warning will go away. We'll hit import. You'll see down here that it's working on it, so we'll give that just a second. And then you see, man, even at 50%, this thing is huge. So again, we'll hold our shift, bring that down to a more manageable size, move it over here to our place, and then we'll scroll back in. So again, we can tilt this up. 90, and then use our trick before with the alignment, and we can center it, and then same as before. Oh, we'll see that when I flipped it, it actually went underground there, so you'll see that -2, -3, -2, -1, 0. That means that it's at the base level. Let's move this up 2 millimeters. Now, just bring it in, smash it in there a little bit. If you don't want it to go as far there, we can do 0.5 millimeter on the snap grid, and it'll only take it in there. Yeah, that looks really good. So that's how you put the logo on there. Super easy. And then don't forget to group it. Make it part of the piece there. All right, so that you can take in all kinds of different directions, right? You can make some nice honeycomb, or hexagon storage things for like cables, USB cables and stuff like that. Put all that stuff together. And then really that trick is to, have these hexagons right there. And have them evenly spaced and everything like that. Then what's cool is future projects that you need, all you do is come back into this project since everything's already done. Just ungroup everything there. You may need to ungroup it a couple of times like I had to there, but now I can select these and just hit copy and then go into another project and just paste those right in there, and I don't have to take the shelf apart again like I did on this one. So we'll put everything back together. And then once you're done with your project, let's delete this. It's very, very easy to export. So we have our logo, we have our holes, we have our little holder, the hexagons are on there so we can attach it to the wall. So we're ready to go. We can just hit export and hit STL. And it's just like printing anything else out on our Bamboo or whatever printer that you happen to be using. So you can easily export it as an STL. One other thing that I didn't show is it always has some crazy name for it right here. So you can always change the name to whatever you want up there, and it'll show up in your dashboard from there. And whenever you export it, it'll show up from there. So always hit the STL button, export it. You'll see that it's ready to go, and it's ready to go right into Bamboo. And for us to print, I'm not going to go over that. That's a different video, but I hope you enjoyed this one. So let's take a look at the final results of all of this Tinkercad. All right, so as you can see by the photo, what a great project. It came out really good. I am just overwhelmed by how well it came out. If you're wondering what colors I used, black, the red PLA Basic from Bamboo, and the blue-gray PLA Basic from Bamboo. Well, that's it for this week. I'll catch you guys next weekend. Have a good one.